It was just past 2 a.m. when Walter Greene sat up in bed, rubbing his tired eyes, staring into the quiet darkness of his Ohio farmhouse. The clock ticked loudly, as if mocking him. He had been awake for hours, despite being utterly exhausted. His body begged for rest, but sleep remained a distant stranger. It had been like this for years now, some nights worse than others, but that night felt different. Something inside him had started to give up. Walter, now 72, used to be a high school history teacher. He could once lecture all day, coach after school, and still come home full of energy. But ever since his wife passed away and the house grew quieter, sleep became harder to find. At first, he blamed the loneliness. Then he tried sleeping pills, then herbal teas, even sound machines playing ocean waves. Nothing seemed to work, not for long, at least. That night, as the cold wind rattled the old window panes, Walter stood up and shuffled to the kitchen, defeated. He wasn't looking for answers, just something warm to drink. While waiting for the kettle to boil, he glanced at his laptop still open on the table. By habit more than hope, he typed into the search bar, "How to sleep naturally without pills." What popped up surprised him. It wasn't some new gadget or miracle supplement. It was an article about kiwi fruit, of all things, written by a medical journal he didn't expect to understand. But the message was simple. Certain natural foods could help the body sleep better. Curious, and with nothing to lose, Walter made a quiet decision. The next morning, he'd buy a few kiwis, just to try. What happened over the next 2 weeks changed everything. This isn't a story about magic. It's about rediscovering the simple things our bodies need. What Walter learned, and what science is now confirming, is that good sleep might not come from a bottle, but from your own kitchen. And in this video, we're going to show you exactly how. If you've ever found yourself lying awake at night, watching the hours slip by while your body refuses to rest, you're not alone. For many older adults, sleep doesn't come as easily as it used to. But it's not because you're doing anything wrong. There are real biological reasons behind it. As we age, our bodies go through natural changes. One of the biggest is a drop in the production of melatonin, the hormone that tells your body when it's time to sleep. When you were younger, melatonin levels would rise in the evening, helping you feel drowsy and ready for bed. But now, that signal is weaker. Your body might not know when it's truly time to rest. At the same time, stress tends to pile up as the years go on. You might not be working a 9 to 5 job anymore, but that doesn't mean your mind is quiet. Thoughts about health, family, money, or the past can all keep your brain spinning late into the night. And when your mind is busy, your body follows. It stays tense, alert, and unable to drift into deep sleep. Another overlooked factor is how we eat. Modern diets are often filled with processed foods, caffeine, and sugar, all of which can disrupt our natural sleep rhythms. What many people don't realize is that food isn't just fuel, it's information. The right foods can gently nudge your body back into balance, helping to increase melatonin and serotonin, lower cortisol, and support your nervous system. In fact, recent research has shown that certain foods are just as powerful as over-the-counter sleep aids, without the grogginess or risk of dependency. But the key is consistency and understanding how these nutrients work with your body, not against it. The good news? These solutions are simple, natural, and often sitting right in your fridge or pantry. In the next part of Walter's story, we'll show you how he used 5 everyday foods, not pills, to rebuild his sleep from the inside out. Because sometimes, healing begins not in a doctor's office, but in your own kitchen. Walter never used to think much about fruit. It was just something you put on the side of a breakfast plate or tossed into a salad for color. But on the 3rd night of his sleep experiment, he sliced open a kiwi an hour before bed, sat at his kitchen table, and ate it slowly, almost ceremonially. It was soft, sweet, and tangy, nothing remarkable. Yet something about the ritual felt right. He had read that kiwi was more than just a tropical treat. It was packed with natural compounds that supported sleep. Specifically, it boosted serotonin, a feel-good chemical in the brain that helps regulate mood and promotes the production of melatonin, the hormone that controls your sleep-wake cycle. For seniors like Walter, whose melatonin levels had been fading for years, this little fruit was a gentle nudge in the right direction. What's fascinating is the science behind it. In one clinical study, adults who ate 2 kiwis an hour before bedtime for 4 weeks fell asleep 35% faster and slept nearly 13% longer. They also reported feeling more refreshed in the morning, without any of the grogginess that often comes from sleep medications. Walter didn't need numbers to tell him it was working. By the end of the first week, he noticed he was drifting off more easily. He wasn't tossing and turning until 3 a.m. anymore. He still woke up once or twice in the night, but it didn't feel like a battle to fall back asleep. For the first time in years, he was starting to feel rested. Kiwi's magic goes beyond serotonin. It's also rich in antioxidants and folate, which support brain health and reduce stress. As Walter discovered, less stress at night meant fewer racing thoughts, and fewer racing thoughts meant deeper sleep. Now, each evening after washing the dishes, he places 2 kiwis on a little blue plate, turns on his lamp, and quietly thanks the universe for small miracles. Who knew, he chuckles, that something green and fuzzy could change your life? Coming up next, the unlikely fruit juice that helped Walter sleep like a rock, without a single pill. Stay tuned. The first time Walter tried tart cherry juice, he wasn't expecting much. The label on the bottle read, 100% Montmorency tart cherry, unsweetened. He gave it a sniff and took a sip. Sharp, tangy, not exactly what you'd call delicious. But he'd read about its sleep benefits, and at this point, he was willing to trade flavor for rest. A week into his kiwi routine, Walter added 1 small glass of tart cherry juice to his morning and another in the evening. It became part of his new rhythm. Pour a glass at breakfast, another after dinner, and trust the process. What he didn't realize was just how powerful this sour little fruit could be. Tart cherries are one of the richest natural sources of melatonin. But more than that, they contain tryptophan and anthocyanins, natural compounds that help reduce inflammation and support the production of both serotonin and melatonin. For seniors, whose hormone production slows down over time, these compounds can be the key to unlocking deeper, more consistent sleep. Scientific studies back this up. In one trial, participants who drank tart cherry juice twice a day for just 1 week slept an average of 84 minutes longer each night. That's not a nap. That's a whole extra movie's worth of rest. Even better, their sleep quality improved, meaning fewer interruptions and more time in deep, restorative stages of sleep. Walter began to feel it after about 5 days. He wasn't just falling asleep faster. He was sleeping through the night. No more 3 a.m. pacing. No more mind games with the ceiling fan. He'd wake up around 6:30 a.m., stretch his arms, and smile at the sunlight pouring through the blinds. It felt like his body was finally learning to trust the night again. He didn't need a prescription. He didn't need a complicated sleep machine or expensive therapy. Just a bottle of tart cherry juice from the local grocery store and a commitment to consistency. Now, when Walter pours that deep red juice into his favorite glass, he doesn't think of it as just a drink. He sees it as a signal to his body. You're safe. You can rest now. Coming up, the everyday fruit that relaxes your muscles and calms your nerves without you even realizing it. Walter had always kept bananas in the house. They were easy, cheap, and didn't need much attention. But until recently, he'd never thought of them as anything more than a quick breakfast or something to slice into cereal. It wasn't until he stumbled across an old article about magnesium and sleep that he gave bananas a second look. Turns out, that yellow fruit sitting quietly on your kitchen counter is a powerhouse when it comes to helping your body relax. One night, about halfway through his sleep experiment, Walter made a small change. Instead of reaching for cookies or crackers after dinner, he peeled a banana, mashed it onto a slice of whole grain toast, and topped it with a bit of almond butter. It became his evening routine, comforting, simple, and surprisingly effective. Bananas are rich in magnesium, a mineral that plays a vital role in calming the nervous system and relaxing muscles. For many older adults, magnesium levels are low without them realizing it. And low magnesium can mean more nighttime awakenings, restlessness, and even cramps. Within a few days of adding bananas to his evening snack, Walter noticed his legs didn't feel so tight at night, and he was drifting off with a sense of calm he hadn't felt in years. But there's more. Bananas also contain tryptophan, an amino acid that helps the body produce serotonin. our mood-stabilizing friend, and eventually melatonin, the sleep hormone. This means bananas don't just help your muscles relax. They also work on a deeper, hormonal level to guide your body into sleep. And the best part? Bananas are easy to digest and won't spike your blood sugar late at night. Unlike many traditional snacks, they're gentle on the stomach, something Walter appreciated as someone who often felt too full or too bloated to sleep well. Now, that banana toast isn't just a snack for Walter. It's part of a ritual, something warm, grounding, and familiar that tells his body, the day is done. It's time to rest. Coming up, the humble nut that helped Walter stay asleep through the night, and why it works better than many over-the-counter supplements. Walnuts had always been a holiday snack in Walter's home, something you'd find in a bowl on the coffee table during Thanksgiving, maybe tossed into a salad for crunch. But as he dug deeper into natural ways to improve sleep, he discovered that these wrinkled little nuts might be one of the most underrated allies for a restless night. It was a quiet Tuesday evening when Walter added a small handful of walnuts to his routine. Nothing fancy, just a few sprinkled over his yogurt after dinner. He wasn't expecting miracles, but what happened over the next few nights surprised him. You see, walnuts contain natural melatonin, the same hormone your body produces to signal sleep. Most people turn to melatonin supplements when they can't sleep, but Walter wasn't comfortable relying on pills anymore. Walnuts, on the other hand, offered a gentle, food-based way to support his internal clock. But that's just the beginning. Walnuts are also rich in tryptophan, the same sleep-promoting amino acid found in bananas. And more importantly, they're loaded with omega-3 fatty acids, especially DHA, a type of omega-3 that helps boost the body's ability to produce melatonin on its own. For Walter, this meant fewer interruptions during the night. Before, he often woke up around 3 a.m., mind racing, body stiff. But once he began including walnuts in his evening routine, he found himself sleeping longer stretches, sometimes even making it all the way to morning without waking once. That was something he hadn't done in years. Nutritionists say that when melatonin comes from food rather than supplements, the body absorbs it more naturally. It's like offering your brain a gentle nudge rather than forcing it to shut down. And unlike sugary snacks or heavy meals, walnuts don't interfere with digestion or spike blood sugar levels. In fact, they help stabilize energy overnight, giving your body what it needs to stay calm and quiet. Now, every time Walter sprinkles a few walnuts onto his dessert or nibbles on them with a cup of tea, he smiles. Not because they're a miracle cure, but because they remind him that sometimes real change comes in the smallest handfuls. Next up, the soothing bedtime ritual that helped Walter finally silence his mind, and how it can do the same for you. Every night, around 8:30, Walter fills his old kettle with water and places it on the stove. He doesn't rush. It's part of the rhythm now, a quiet signal to his body that the day is winding down. While the water heats, he prepares his favorite ceramic mug, drops in a chamomile tea bag, and waits as the steam begins to rise. It's more than a drink to him. It's a ritual, and perhaps the most important one of all. Chamomile tea has been used for centuries to promote relaxation and sleep, but for Walter, it became his moment of peace. No screens, no news, no noise. Just a warm cup, a soft chair by the window, and the comforting silence of the evening. What makes chamomile so powerful isn't just the warmth or the routine. It's a compound inside the plant called apigenin. This natural antioxidant binds to receptors in the brain that help reduce anxiety and bring on sleepiness. In simple terms, it tells your mind, it's okay now. You can let go. For seniors, whose sleep can be interrupted by worry, pain, or just an overactive mind, that gentle calm is invaluable. In one clinical study, older adults who drank chamomile tea twice a day reported falling asleep faster and waking up less during the night. They didn't just sleep, they slept deeper, and they woke feeling more refreshed. Walter noticed it, too. Before adding chamomile to his evening routine, he would often lay in bed, mind replaying memories, to-do lists, or old regrets. But something about that warm cup helped him soften those thoughts. They didn't disappear, but they didn't control him either. And beyond sleep, chamomile also supports digestion and reduces inflammation, two common nighttime complaints among older adults. For Walter, who often had mild stomach discomfort after dinner, chamomile helped settle both his body and mind. Now he doesn't skip it, even when he's tired, even when he's had a long day. That little cup of tea is his way of telling the world, and himself, that he's ready to rest. In the next part, we'll step back and explore what's happening behind the scenes. Why do these foods work so well together? What do they all have in common? And how can you build your own sleep-friendly meal plan, just like Walter did? As Walter looked back on the changes he'd made, the kiwis, the cherry juice, the bananas, the walnuts, the chamomile tea, something clicked. It wasn't just about one magical fruit or a superfood. It was about how these foods worked together to support his body in doing what it was naturally designed to do: rest. At the heart of it all is a beautifully simple truth. Your body wants to sleep. It's built to sleep. But over time, especially with age, that natural rhythm can get disrupted. Stress, poor nutrition, hormonal shifts, and lack of movement all chip away at the system that once worked effortlessly. The good news? It doesn't take pharmaceuticals to rebuild it. Sometimes, it just takes the right kind of nourishment. Let's break it down. All 5 of these foods have something in common. They support the brain's ability to produce and regulate 3 key players: serotonin, melatonin, and magnesium. Serotonin is your emotional thermostat. It helps regulate mood, digestion, and sleep. Foods rich in tryptophan, like bananas and walnuts, naturally boost serotonin levels, helping you feel calmer and more balanced. Melatonin is the sleep hormone. It tells your body when it's time to rest. Kiwi, tart cherry, and walnuts provide either direct melatonin or the building blocks your brain needs to produce it efficiently. And then there's magnesium, a mineral most people don't get enough of. Magnesium calms the nervous system, relaxes muscles, and prevents middle-of-the-night awakenings. Bananas are a rich source, but so are many leafy greens, legumes, and seeds. Together, these foods don't sedate the brain, they support it. They help reset the body's natural rhythms, reduce inflammation, and calm an overactive nervous system. Think of them as gentle guides, not hammers. Walter didn't need to overhaul his entire diet. He just needed to make small, consistent changes, adding instead of taking away. And over time, those additions rewired his nights from chaos into calm. In the next section, we'll walk you through how to build your own sleep-friendly meal plan, using real, simple food that works with your body, not against it. Because better sleep isn't about doing more. It's about doing what matters. Walter's journey taught him something important. Sleep isn't only about what you do at night. It begins the moment you wake up. Every bite you take, every sip, every small choice throughout the day either supports your rest or quietly works against it. So how do you build a meal plan that works with your body's natural rhythm, especially as you age? It starts with consistency, not complexity. Let's begin with breakfast. Many seniors skip it or rely on toast and coffee. But that first meal sets your internal clock. Walter started his mornings with a small bowl of steel-cut oats, topped with a few chopped walnuts and a handful of blueberries. He'd pair it with a glass of tart cherry juice instead of orange juice. This simple swap helped stabilize his energy, reduce inflammation, and feed his brain the right signals for serotonin production. Lunch was light, but mindful. A salad with leafy greens, some grilled salmon or boiled eggs, a drizzle of olive oil, and a sprinkle of pumpkin or flax seeds. He'd often add a few slices of avocado, which are high in magnesium and healthy fats. Water or herbal tea kept him hydrated without caffeine. Dinner was the anchor of his day. Not too heavy, not too late. Usually something like baked sweet potato, steamed broccoli, and a piece of roasted chicken or tofu. Sometimes a bowl of vegetable soup with lentils or quinoa. And about an hour before bed, his now famous snack, a slice of whole grain toast with mashed banana and almond butter, followed by a warm cup of chamomile tea. He didn't count calories. He didn't follow a strict diet. He focused on nutrient timing, fueling his body with foods that promote calm in the evening and clarity during the day. The magic came not from doing everything perfectly, but from showing up for himself. Day after day, bite after bite. You don't need to copy Walter exactly. The goal is to find what works for you, your taste, your routine, your body. But let his story remind you. Small choices, repeated with care, can change everything. Next, we'll dive into 5 additional foods that support better sleep, some of which might already be sitting in your kitchen. By now, Walter had found his rhythm. But curiosity has a way of growing once you feel better. So he kept reading, kept learning. He wanted to understand more. And what he discovered next surprised him. There were even more foods quietly working behind the scenes to support sleep. Not superfoods, not exotic powders. Just real, everyday ingredients with real science behind them. Here are 5 more that help take his sleep from good to great. 1. Oatmeal. Not just for breakfast anymore. Oats are a natural source of melatonin and complex carbohydrates, which help tryptophan reach the brain more easily. Walter began having a small bowl of oatmeal some evenings, made with almond milk, topped with a few flax seeds. It wasn't heavy, but it kept him full and calm until morning. 2. Almond milk. Regular milk has long been associated with sleep, but Walter preferred unsweetened almond milk, rich in magnesium and calcium, both crucial for muscle relaxation and sleep regulation. He'd warm it gently with a dash of cinnamon before bed. It became a new favorite. 3. Leafy greens. Spinach, kale, and Swiss chard aren't just for salads. They're loaded with magnesium, calcium, and even small amounts of tryptophan. Walter began adding a handful of greens to his scrambled eggs at lunch or tossing them into soups. They gave his body the minerals it needed to stay calm into the night. 4. Fatty fish, like salmon or mackerel. These fish are rich in vitamin D and omega-3 fatty acids, which support the brain's regulation of serotonin. Walter found that eating salmon twice a week not only boosted his mood, but made falling asleep easier. Studies show that seniors who consume omega-3s regularly tend to have better sleep patterns and fewer disruptions. 5. Soy-based foods, like tofu or edamame. For older women especially, isoflavones found in soy may improve sleep during and after menopause. Walter wasn't much of a tofu fan at first, but he tried marinated grilled tofu once, and it stuck. He added it into his rotation a couple of times a week for variety and balance. These foods didn't replace the core 5 that had helped him early on. They simply added depth, filling in the nutritional gaps, keeping his meals interesting, and giving his body even more of what it quietly craved. Coming up next, what to avoid. Because just as some foods help you sleep, others may be keeping you awake without you even knowing it. By now, Walter had built a powerful sleep routine, filled with foods that worked with his body instead of against it. But just as important as what you add to your day is what you might need to let go of. Walter learned this the hard way. One evening, after a visit from his grandson, he made the mistake of drinking a root beer with dinner. Seemed harmless enough. But when 3 a.m. rolled around and he was still wide awake, his mind buzzing like a mosquito, he started connecting the dots. Here's what he came to understand. Some foods and habits act like silent saboteurs, tricking the body into staying alert, anxious, or unsettled, even hours after we've consumed them. Let's start with the obvious, caffeine. While a cup of coffee in the morning is fine for most people, many seniors don't realize how long caffeine lingers. It can stay in your system for 6 to 8 hours or more. That means even a cup of tea or chocolate in the afternoon could be enough to disrupt your night. Walter switched to herbal teas and avoided dark chocolate after lunchtime, and he noticed the difference within days. Then there's alcohol. It might make you feel sleepy at first, but it actually disrupts the quality of your sleep, especially the deep, restorative stages. Walter used to enjoy a glass of wine with dinner, but once he limited it to once or twice a week, and only with early meals, he began sleeping more soundly. Heavy, greasy meals were another culprit. Burgers, fried food, or anything overly processed can strain digestion, especially before bedtime. Walter learned to keep his dinners light and easy on the stomach. Soups, roasted vegetables, and lean proteins gave him the nutrition he needed without the heaviness that led to nighttime restlessness. And perhaps the most overlooked, screens. TV, phones, and tablets emit blue light that tells your brain it's still daytime. Walter made a rule: screens off by 8 p.m., replaced by soft music or a good book. It didn't just help him sleep. It brought back a calm he hadn't felt in years. In the next section, we'll shift from food to lifestyle, sharing the daily habits and simple routines that turned Walter's nights around, one step at a time. Walter used to think that sleep was just something that happened, or didn't. Some nights were good, some weren't, and that was just how it was. But over time, he realized something powerful. Sleep isn't an event. It's a process. And that process begins long before your head hits the pillow. Once he had his food routine down, Walter began shifting his attention to how he lived his days. And what he discovered was that simple, gentle habits made a huge difference. The first was exposure to morning light. Every day, rain or shine, Walter made a point to step outside in the early hours, just for 10 or 15 minutes. Natural sunlight helps reset the body's internal clock, regulating melatonin and telling your brain, this is day. That, in turn, helps it know when night truly begins. He also made walking a priority. Nothing intense, just a quiet stroll after lunch or before dinner. Physical activity doesn't just tire out the body. It improves circulation, reduces stress hormones like cortisol, and helps balance blood sugar, all of which support more restful sleep later on. Then came his evening wind-down routine. Walter learned to protect the hour before bed like it was sacred. No phone, no news, no bright lights. Instead, he dimmed the lamps, played soft instrumental music, sometimes lit a candle. He'd read a chapter from one of his old history books or write a few lines in a gratitude journal. Just the act of slowing down, of not rushing into sleep, told his body, it's safe to let go. He also discovered the value of consistency, going to bed and waking up at roughly the same time, even on weekends, trained his body to know when it was time to rest. Sleep became less of a guessing game and more of a rhythm, like breathing. And finally, he gave himself grace. Some nights were still restless. Some mornings came too early. But instead of panicking or reaching for a pill, he trusted the process. He knew that over time, good sleep isn't forced. It's earned through kindness, patience, and care. In the next section, we'll revisit Walter's story and explore how his life changed once sleep became his ally, not his enemy. 3 months after Walter first sliced into a kiwi and poured that tart cherry juice, something remarkable happened. He stopped thinking about sleep. Not because it stopped mattering, but because it finally stopped being a problem. Sleep was no longer a nightly battle. It became something peaceful again, almost effortless. A return to the way things used to be, before the losses, before the pills, before the nights spent staring at the ceiling, hoping for silence. The first thing he noticed was the mornings. They felt different now. He didn't wake up with that heavy fog behind his eyes. He didn't need 3 cups of coffee just to feel halfway human. He began waking up naturally, just after sunrise, feeling rested and clear-headed. Then came the energy. Simple things, walking to the mailbox, tending the small garden behind his house, fixing the loose hinge on the old gate, became easier. He didn't dread the afternoons anymore. In fact, he started looking forward to them. The biggest change, though, was emotional. Walter found himself more patient. He laughed more easily. His phone calls with his daughter got longer. He even joined a local community book club, something he'd put off for years, always too tired to attend. One evening, sitting by his window with a cup of chamomile tea in hand, he wrote a line in his journal. I didn't know how much sleep was stealing from me until I got it back. It wasn't just about avoiding exhaustion. It was about reclaiming joy, clarity, and connection. Sleep gave Walter more than rest. It gave him back his days. And no, it wasn't perfect. There were still nights when his mind wandered. But now he had tools. He had rhythm. And more than anything, he had hope. The quiet confidence that a good night's sleep was no longer out of reach. Walter's story is proof that change is possible. Even if you're 72. Even if you've been struggling for years. Even if you think you've tried everything. Because when you treat your body with care, it remembers how to rest. Coming up next, a complete step-by-step sleep checklist inspired by Walter's routine, so you can begin your own transformation one night at a time. Walter's journey wasn't about finding a miracle. It was about building a rhythm. One small step at a time, he created a routine that helped his body feel safe, supported, and ready to rest. And the best part? You can do it too. Here's a simple, step-by-step checklist inspired by Walter's routine. You don't need to do it all at once. Just begin with what feels manageable and let it grow over time. Morning routine, 7 to 9 a.m. Get sunlight within the first hour of waking. Step outside for 10 to 15 minutes. Natural light helps reset your internal clock and boosts serotonin, which later converts into melatonin. Eat a balanced breakfast. Include something with protein and healthy carbs, like oatmeal with walnuts or a slice of whole grain toast with almond butter. Limit caffeine to the early hours. If you enjoy coffee or black tea, have it in the morning only, never after 1 p.m. Midday habits, 12 to 3 p.m. Take a walk. Even 15 to 20 minutes helps reduce stress hormones and improve circulation. Stay hydrated. Water or herbal teas are best. Avoid sugary drinks or artificial sweeteners, which can affect your nervous system. Eat light, balanced meals. Lean proteins, greens, and healthy fats keep your energy steady throughout the day. Evening routine, 6 to 9 p.m. Keep dinner simple and calming. Think baked sweet potatoes, steamed veggies, or a small bowl of soup. Avoid heavy, fried, or overly spicy foods. Enjoy a sleep-friendly snack. Try Walter's favorite, a banana with almond butter or a few walnuts with chamomile tea. Power down electronics at least an hour before bed. The blue light from screens disrupts melatonin production. Replace TV with music, reading, or journaling. Bedtime routine, 9 to 10 p.m. Create a calming environment. Dim the lights. Turn off overheads. Use lamps or candles. Establish a ritual. Chamomile tea. Light stretching. Deep breathing. A few minutes of gratitude journaling. These cues help your brain associate this time with sleep. Go to bed at the same time every night, even on weekends. Consistency is key to resetting your body's sleep cycle. Sleep isn't about chasing rest. It's about inviting it in with gentleness, nourishment, and routine. Next up, what to do when sleep still doesn't come, and how Walter handled setbacks without giving up. Not every night was perfect for Walter. Even with all the changes, the foods, the habits, the rituals, there were still evenings when sleep stayed just out of reach. The difference now? He no longer panicked. Because one of the most powerful lessons Walter learned was this: rest is more than sleep, and progress isn't always linear. There were nights when, despite everything, his mind would wander. Memories would surface. His heart would beat just a little faster. In the past, he would have gotten frustrated, maybe turned the TV back on or reached for something sugary. But now he knew better. Instead of fighting the wakefulness, he leaned into rest. He had a plan. 1. Stay calm. Walter reminded himself that one rough night didn't undo all the progress. Stressing about not sleeping only made things worse. So he'd take a few deep breaths, relax his jaw, unclench his fists, and simply lie still. 2. Don't clock watch. He turned his alarm clock to face the wall. Watching minutes tick by only builds anxiety. Instead, he focused on the feeling of the sheets, the rhythm of his breath, or the soft hum of the night outside. 3. Get up if needed, but keep it quiet. If he couldn't fall back asleep within 20 to 30 minutes, Walter would gently rise and go to his cozy chair by the window. He'd sip warm almond milk, read a few pages of an old book, or write down whatever thoughts were keeping him up. He never turned on bright lights. He never checked his phone. He stayed in night mode. 4. Use mind tricks for relaxation. Sometimes he'd mentally walk through a peaceful place, a forest trail, a beach at sunset. Other times, he'd slowly count backwards from 100. It wasn't about forcing sleep. It was about shifting his mind from active to calm. 5. Let go of perfection. Walter reminded himself, even lying still with eyes closed is rest. Even a night of broken sleep could still be restorative if met with kindness instead of frustration. And most importantly, he didn't give up. Because better sleep isn't about avoiding every bad night. It's about building enough good ones that, over time, your body learns to trust the dark again. Coming up next, final reflections, lessons learned, and how you can start your own sleep journey today with nothing more than what's already in your home. Walter never set out to fix his sleep. He didn't expect a breakthrough. He didn't think something as simple as a kiwi or a cup of tea could change his life. But what he discovered wasn't just better rest. It was a new way of living. Sleep, he realized, wasn't something to chase. It was something to nurture. In the end, it wasn't one food or one habit that made the difference. It was the collection of small, consistent choices, the gentle meals, the sunlight walks, the warm evening rituals that quietly told his body, "You're safe now. You can rest." And that's the real lesson. Better sleep isn't a product to buy. It's a relationship to rebuild with your body, your routine, and your nervous system. It doesn't have to be complicated. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be intentional. Maybe your story doesn't look like Walter's. Maybe your challenges are different. But here's what's the same. Your body wants to heal. Your brain wants to rest. You just have to give it the right conditions. So if you're standing where Walter once stood, tired, frustrated, staring into the night, wondering if anything will ever work, take a deep breath. Start small. Start tonight. Swap that late-night snack for something calming. Turn off the screen a little earlier. Make a cup of chamomile tea. Step outside tomorrow morning and let the sun hit your face for just 5 minutes. These may not seem like life-changing acts, but together, they are. They are the quiet beginnings of your return to rest. Walter's story isn't meant to impress you. It's meant to remind you. Remind you that change is possible, no matter your age. That your body is more resilient than you think. And that sometimes, the answers we need aren't locked away in prescriptions. They're already waiting in our kitchens, in our routines, and in the stories we choose to write next. So what will your next chapter look like? We'd love to hear your story. If this video gave you hope, leave a comment. Share what you're trying or what's worked for you. You never know, your words might be the thing that helps someone else sleep through the night. If you're still here, thank you for staying, for listening, for caring about your health and your rest. We hope Walter's journey reminded you that it's never too late to make a change. That even after years of sleepless nights, there's still room for healing. Not through force, not through pressure, but through small, steady steps and a little kindness to yourself. If any part of this story resonated with you, we'd love to hear from you. What's your biggest sleep challenge right now? Have you tried any of these foods or habits before? Or maybe you're just starting your journey, just like Walter did. Leave a comment below and share your experience. This is more than a channel, it's a community. And your story could be exactly what someone else needs to hear tonight. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up. It really helps others find this content and lets us know we're making a difference. And if you'd like more videos like this, filled with gentle guidance, real stories, and practical wisdom, don't forget to subscribe and click the notification bell so you never miss what's coming next. Remember, the journey to better sleep doesn't begin with a pill. It begins with a pause, a choice, and sometimes something as simple as a banana or a walk in the sun. Wherever you are on your path, we're here with you. Until next time, take care of your body, be gentle with your mind, and sleep well.